Bhaja jana ranjana Yasura nandana bhaja jana ranjana Yasura nandana bhaja jana ranjana Yamuna tira vanachari Yamuna tira vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya Asatara Satyasi Simad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Which one is? 71. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna. So today we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, Chapter 3, Text 71. Aṅga-śabde aṁśa kahe, seho satya haya, māyā-kārya nahe saba, cid-ānanda-maya, aṅga-śabde aṁśa kahe, seho satya haya, māyā-kārya nahe saba, cid-ānanda-maya, aṅga-śabde aṁśa kahe, seho satya haya, māyā-kārya nahe saba, cid-ānanda-maya. aṁśa kahe, seho satya haya, māyā-kārya nahe saba, cid-ānanda-maya, aṅga-śabde kahe sabdat māyā-kārya nahe saba, cid-ānanda-maya. Māyā-kārya nahe saba, cid-ānanda-maya. Any ladies? Māyā-kārya nahe saba, cid-ānanda-maya. aṅga-śabde, by the word. Aṅga, aṁśa, plenary portion. Kahe, one means. Seho, that. Satya, the truth. Haya, is. Māyā, of the material energy. kārya, the work. Nahe, is not. Saba, all. Cit-ānanda-maya, full of knowledge and bliss. Translation. The word aṅga indeed refers to plenary portions. Such manifestations should never be considered products of material nature, for they are all transcendental, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. Purport and translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the material world, if a fragment is taken from an original object, the original object is reduced by the removal of the fragment. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not at all affected by the actions of Maya. The Īśopaniṣad says, Purnam araha purnamidam purnat purnam udachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnameva vashishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because He is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as the phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because He is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from Him, He remains the complete balance. That's from Īśopaniṣad Invocation. In the realm of the Absolute, 1 plus 1 equals 1, and 1 minus 1 equals 1. Therefore, one should not conceive of a fragment of the Supreme Lord in the material sense. In the spiritual world, there is no influence of the material energy or material calculations of fragments. In the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that the living entities are His parts and parcels. There are innumerable living entities throughout the material and spiritual universes, but still, Lord Krishna is full in Himself. To think that God has lost His personality because His many parts and parcels are distributed all over the universe is an illusion. That is material calculation. Such calculations are possible only under the influence of the material energy, Maya. In the spiritual world, the material energy is conspicuous by its absence. In the category of Vishnu Tattva, there is no loss of power from one expansion to the next. any more than there is a loss of illumination as one candle kindles another. Thousands of candles may be kindled by an original candle, and all will have the same candle power. In this way, it is to be understood that although the Vishnu Tattvas, from Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, to Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, and so on, appear with different features in different ages, all are equally invested with supreme potency. Demigods such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva come in contact with the material energy, and their power and potency are therefore of different gradations. All the incarnations of Vishnu, however, are equal in potency, for the influence of Maya cannot even approach them. Can repeat the translation? The word aṅga. The word aṅga indeed refers to plenary portions. Such manifestations should never be considered products of material nature, for they are all transcendental, full of knowledge and full of bliss. Omagyanatimirandasya gananjana salakaya chakshulunmilitam jena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya manobhistam stapitam jena bhutale swaya rupa kadamayam dadati svapatandikam panchakopa tarubhischa kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So it was a very nice verse. As soon as I read the translation, I thought, right away, Purnam, Araha Purnam Idam. And of course it turns right up in the Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Back in 1971, remember when I first went to a temple, April 1971, every day, every evening, they would chant a verse from Sri Īśopaniṣad. I remember going through all 18 verses and the invocation. We would try to learn the Sanskrit each day. Even our meter at that time, I remember, was not always like it is now. I even remember Jaya Radha Madhava. Before we heard Srila Prabhupada chanting, we had another way of chanting. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Giri Vanadari. Then finally we heard the tape of Srila Prabhupada chanting. So this was our business. Actually, everything we read in here, the process of Krishna, all of his incarnations. So many times Prabhupada would repeat these messages. You have the original candle, then you light the different candles. This for us, back in those days, this was a revolution. What Prabhupada has given here was a revolution. I had an idea what I was going to speak about today, then it became reinforced. I saw one devotee here, Vijay Prabhu. He's arrived here in Vrindavan. Many of you should know Vijay Prabhu. If you don't, now he claims he's ex-minister of book distribution. Yes. How many decades? How many years? 22? 22 years. You even exceeded your spiritual master. I was thinking that to speak here, what business do I have speaking? You know, today, later on today, not here, in the USA in particular, big solar eclipse. Everyone is in so much illusion they're describing millions of people, they're flying from all different parts of the U.S. to go to the places where they can see the solar eclipse, because they want to be in even more illusion. This is also, of course, part of perfect and complete. Everything is perfect and complete by the arrangement of Krishna. Just see, how can the eclipse even happen so just perfect? Perfectly, the sun is blocked. They say this is an actual very big one, over 4 minutes of darkness. 4 minutes of darkness, and it's going right through all the chaotic areas of the U.S., right through Texas, where so many immigrants are coming in, illegal immigrants causing so much chaos in the U.S. So it's very appropriate that these things are there. But it's perfect. But we're in so much illusion, we want to go and bathe in the non-light of the sun. Huh? The devotees, we go and bathe in the Jamuna, we go bathe in the Ganga like that. I was with Prabhupada for some times, many, many months. So I went through, Google search is so easy now. I saw every eclipse I was with Srila Prabhupada. I think there was 8 of them. I was with him for 8 different eclipses. What did we do? Anyone know what special things we did those days? We chanted Hare Krishna just like every other day. I didn't even know they were happening. When you're with Prabhupada, huh? Also complete. The letter, a long time ago, 1970, 1971, one of his disciples, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, wrote Srila Prabhupada about how pure devotee is there, how Srila Prabhupada is pure devotee. Prabhupada wrote so wonderfully in that letter. It's one of very special letters. Huh? And he says, there was never a moment in his life that he was not thinking of Krishna. Not one moment. I say sometimes he told me, he remembers being a baby in his sister's arms. He said, maybe I was 6 months old. Who can have such memory? Huh? Perfect and complete. The pure devotee, also perfect and complete. But I just wanted to mention a minute here what Prabhu, and he told me this very wonderful story. Now he turned over very humbly. He gave his service to none other than Vaisheshika, right? To be minister of book distribution. Who could be better minister for book distribution? You were also wonderful, always inspiring everyone, so many stories. He told me a story I never heard before, right here, Krishna Balaram Mandir. I got to do Mangalartik this morning. Since I was giving class, I was asking for some mercy, some blessings. But he was telling me, he's telling me how Vaisheshika and Sura, they were here for the temple opening. I said, I said, I was here. And then he said, Vaisheshika and Surya, they were on the altar. They did the first artik. I guess Gurnatai. Sura Prabhu. Sura. Yes, who left just a couple years ago. Another big book distributor. And that's why they were on the altar. They weren't pujaris. They were book distributors. And they got to do the artik on the altar. And he said, they were on the altar. And I said, I was on the altar. I wasn't doing the artik. I was behind Srila Prabhupada giving him instruments to offer. But because they were book distributors, they were on the altar. They got to do the first artik. And then he said afterwards, Prabhupada said, who are the devotees doing the artik ceremony? Because I think their way of doing artik maybe wasn't everything. Still, I go up there today. I have to, unless I'm given instructions of what to do, I can get lost on there. They do so many wonderful things for the deities during the course of the artik ceremony. But as book distributors, they were recognized for their service. Everyone is recognized by their service, by Srila Prabhupada. But he certainly, we know, he encouraged book distribution. Because that also perfect and complete. What Prabhupada gave us, sometimes I think about it, the wonderful fortune I had listening to him, translating 1 o'clock in the morning, every day. I always see that more and more, how regulated Srila Prabhupada was in his services. So quietly, never made a big point about it. He certainly wanted all the facility. I carried the dictaphone machine everywhere we went. It didn't matter. Here in India, there were no dictaphone machines, so we brought everything with us. Brought the dictaphone machine, we brought the tapes, everything to facilitate Prabhupada. We had to bring tapes for his classes. The spoken word by Krishna, as Prabhupada said, every word, he said, perfect, complete. Every comma. That's what he said. When I read these books, he said, I'm amazed what's been written, such poetry, such realization, such emotion Prabhupada gave in every word. Everything he did, this entire society, now ISKCON society, such a huge society. I hear initiations going on somewhere. They just went on somewhere the other day. Hundreds of devotees being initiated into Brahmin initiation. Hundreds of devotees getting first initiation. It keeps carrying on. The reason it carries on is Prabhupada's books. And that's what he said. If nothing else is there, these books can make devotees. And these books have been making devotees since Prabhupada first came to America and started distributing his books. We know that for as early as any of us might have been distributing books, Prabhupada was the one writing his books, proofreading his books, doing everything to distribute his books by the order of his spiritual master. This was his biggest service, was putting these books out, and everything came as a result. We have another book came out recently, Kirtan Standards. I hear so much about Kirtan. And of course, like everything, there's always the two camps. There's no hard and fast rules for chanting. And then of course it seems like there's so many rules for chanting. Prabhupada said it's not possible to follow rules and regulations immediately. Therefore, this chanting, most important, he said. He defined, he said he would go to Tompkins Square Park in the afternoon. Same time every afternoon, he said, 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. That was the hours. He would just sit there and chant. Gargamuni, he posted. After a few months, Prabhupada posted one letter, rules and regulations. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling. And then later on, he posted another letter. Just months later, handwritten letter. More rules and regulations became there. The morning program, chanting your rounds in the morning, eating only prasadam, not associating with non-devotees, on and on and on. Both things are there in balance. I told you that one morning walk, and always when Prabhupada would ask a question, the answer is not going to be what you think, generally. And he asked that question. The devotee is simple or crooked? We know the qualities of a devotee. Simplicity is one of the qualities of a devotee. You won't see anywhere devotees crooked. Everyone in the material world is crooked. All crooked. Cheaters and cheated. Crooked. But Prabhupada asked the group of devotees on his morning walk. Very happily, he would ask these questions, eager to hear from his disciples. And of course, immediately little confusion is there, simple or crooked. We're talking about Prabhupada. He's asking about himself. Am I simple or crooked? Who would dare say you're crooked? Who would have the nerve? Prabhupada, you're very crooked. No, not possible. So finally, Prabhupada, he's simple. Prabhupada he always shook his head that way, very happily, to negate his disciples' response. No, you're wrong. He said he's crooked. All of you, he said, I've tricked all of you into following so many rules and regulations. This is our no hard and fast rule. There are no hard and fast rules until there's hard and fast rules. So many rules are there. They come at initiation time. Disciple, discipline, tricked. How many were tricked and think, I have so many things I have to do now, so many rules, regulations. The first thing when you give initiation, he asks you what are the rules and regulations. 4 regulative principles, chant 16 rounds. And every lecture at initiation, what is the basic lecture at initiation? Lecture on the 10 offenses in chanting. More guidelines, more rules. But all of this only comes by the chanting, by the purification process. Without the chanting, the ability to follow these rules, impossible, Prabhupada would say, very, very difficult. But one of my services was to make sure everything was ready for Srila Prabhupada to do his translation work. All these other activities, even making disciples, was just to aid him translating his books. I was in, Bhaktivedanta Manor in 1973. So that was August, September. So by then his unabridged edition, Macmillan edition of Bhagavad Gita had come out. Prabhupada was very, very proud to see that book come out. And every night, whoever was in the audience, and it was the devotees were there, but others was there. Sometimes musicians were there, politicians were there, teachers were there, lawyers were there. And Prabhupada would speak, but he would always quote from the Bhagavad Gita because it was there on his desk, sitting there. And he would say, these are our law books. Not that we're just talking, making something up, speaking some nonsense. Just here, perfect, everything perfect and complete. And as it's described, Prabhupada came to this world and he told us how to make this place also perfect and complete. It's already described there in Īśopaniṣad. Everything arranged by the Lord, perfect and complete. That's why we see Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga. No one was having any difficulties because they were following. They were following the prescribed orders, rules and regulations. Kali Yuga, we don't know how to follow many rules and regulations. Prabhupada had so many. He said, I was very liberal. Who was it? Allen Ginsberg. Prabhupada, you're so conservative. He laughed. He said, conservative. He said, I'm very liberal. Allowing Allen Ginsberg to chant. He was there at Bhaktivedanta Manor later on. He would go around Allen Ginsberg in India, see different people, learn different chants. He had his little travel harmonium. And he brought it to Bhaktivedanta Manor. And Prabhupada was a help to Srila Prabhupada in the very early days, 66 and 67. Whatever he was, he certainly helped Srila Prabhupada. Different festivals. So Prabhupada greeted him, and then he asked Prabhupada, can I chant? I can lead kirtan? This was at the manor. It was a big, big sitting room. There's like 20 devotees, different guests. And he's right in front of Prabhupada, and he's got his harmonium. He said, "Can I chant?" Prabhupada said, "Yes, yes." So he started, Om. And of course, all of us, we just start looking at each other, we think, oh, this is not this. And Prabhupada just sitting there, Om. And then he broke in, finally, the Hare Krishna mantra, started chanting Hare Krishna. And the devotees were chanting, responding. And after 4 or 5 times, Prabhupada looked over to his disciple, was Hansaduta. He said, "Now you can lead." He let him lead, but then he said, "Now you can lead." Hansaduta, wonderful, wonderful kirtan voice. Prabhupada would have him lead kirtan so many times. Of course, here in his room, also chanting. But Prabhupada's main business were these books. Most important thing for all of us. It was funny seeing you this morning. Everything about the books. Everywhere Prabhupada went, he encouraged us, distribute his books, read his books. That was also just as important. As he read his books, I've told you so many times, his bookshelf only had his books. He didn't have any other books, except, of course, for the green Bhagavatam, the commentaries by all the previous acharyas. And he would sit there, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, every day, and give us these books. Greatest gift he could give us. The greatest gift you can give anyone is to give one of Prabhupada's books. We see that sometimes devotees, they'll buy books just to distribute to their friends, their devotee friends, and even books about Srila Prabhupada. I told you here, nothing would stop Prabhupada from doing his book translation. Here the mosquitoes tried to stop him, and we didn't always have that mosquito net over his sitting place. Then the one night he called me in, sitting in the middle of his room, on the floor, just sitting right on the floor in the middle of his room. He rang the bell. He brought the bell from his desk, rang the bell. I came in, he's sitting in the middle of the floor. He looked at me, he said, "The mosquitoes have dethroned me." He couldn't translate because of the mosquitoes. Dethroned. Prabhupada had a wonderful way with words. He said he was on a throne. He said that. Not many times would Prabhupada say he was on a throne. But he said dethroned. So he said, I was on the throne, but they kicked me off the throne. So immediately we went and we got a mosquito net. Nice big double bed mosquito net. That every night we would have to hang the mosquito net up so he could do his translating work. Nothing could stop that work. And I say in Hawaii, and generally Prabhupada, he was very merciful. He didn't wake me up before 4 o'clock in the morning. He wouldn't ring the bell, but sometimes he did, if something he wanted to do. And I always heard it. I was very keen hearing different noises. I would hear him translating. As he said, each word picked so carefully. We know the story. He heard a fan in the guest house. 3 stories up, a fan was on. He called his servant. What's that noise? It was disturbing his consciousness, making it difficult to translate. What's that noise? Find it. Took the devotee back and forth before he finally found a little like that. Drop of water from a sink. What's that noise? Find that noise. Stop it. Not that this was something simple. It was wonderful. most amazing thing that he did, amongst doing everything else, managing this society, so many difficulties. Everyone was fighting. This isn't a new thing. People are fighting here. They're always fighting. They were fighting in front of Prabhupada. They would fight. Told you, I was GBC meeting, the very first GBC meetings, 12 men, Prabhupada's room, there at the Lotus building. No one else could come, and they were short. 2-hour meeting, 2-3 days, finished. All for figuring out how to spread Krishna consciousness. Which basically meant how to sell books, because that's how it was spreading. Harinam and book distribution. And I told you, my godbrother, very early devotee, Bhaktajan, he was Bhaktajan, then he became Bhaktijan. He was very tall. New York City. Still there in New York. I've seen him at Rath Yatra festivals. In that time, 1973, I don't trust the GBC. It's not a new thing. Who trusts anyone? This is a material world, and we don't trust anyone. The only person you can trust, Prabhupada said, don't even trust me. He said that to us. Only trusting Krishna. But he didn't trust. He said, I don't trust them. I want to go to a GBC meeting and see what they're talking about. How would you like that? Now you'd have to sit there for a week. Morning, afternoon, evening, meetings. Sit there and listen. They just printed the resolutions from the GBC meetings. So I said, you can't go, you're not a GBC. And then I said, I go in there and I bring sweets. Everywhere. You're with Prabhupada, you get prasadam. That's our business. No one leaves the room without prasadam. Everyone should do like that. Everyone gets prasadam. They come see you, you give them prasadam. So he said, well, I can bring the prasadam. I said, yeah, okay. I can do that. So it was just a plate, well, sandesh on it, half dozen sandesh on a plate. So I go in with them. And there in the room, Prabhupada's sitting behind his desk. Same place all the time, just sitting on a cushion on the floor. Wherever he went, there was no elaborate sofas, couches, lamps, dining room tables. No, none of these things existed. Just like Vrindavan. Cushion on the floor, little desk in the front. Everywhere Prabhupada went. Perfect and complete. Didn't need any other distractions. But in front of Prabhupada, while we're there distributing sweets, 2 of the devotees are fighting each other. Right in front of Prabhupada. I would see this all the time, devotees arguing, and Prabhupada just sit there and look. How to stop fighting. Cooperate. We hear that all the time, Prabhupada said, cooperate. Such a difficult thing, cooperation. So they're fighting and even loud, even using vulgar language. It was very surprising. Not shouting, but everyone could hear. And Prabhupada could hear. And they're just off to the side as the break was going on. And Prabhupada saw Bhaktijan. And he looked at him. Big, tall, skinny. And he called them, not this way, called this way, proper way, everything proper way. And Bhaktijan came over beside Prabhupada. And Prabhupada looked at him. He said, you were with me in the beginning, right? These other guys are still talking, arguing with each other, and then Prabhupada's talking with him. He said, you were with me from the beginning? Yes, Prabhupada. He said, you were there at 26 2nd Avenue? Yes, Prabhupada. He said, I was renting the room behind, right? The temple, 26 2nd Avenue, the storefront was there, then Prabhupada had a room where he lived. He said, you know that room? Yes, Prabhupada. So he's having a conversation. Everybody's, of course, watching Prabhupada, talking to him. No one knows what he's saying. It's just private conversation. He said, do you know how much it cost each month to rent that room? No, Prabhupada. He said it was $62 a month. Then he went 62, 26, 62, 26, 26 2nd Avenue. So Prabhupada was just making... So he's just doing all these things and talking to him, and everybody's thinking, what's Prabhupada doing? What's he doing? He's pointing to these people. No one knew what was going on. Transcendental, everything, all our nonsense, all our arguments. So many letters would come in, this one's doing this, devotee in the temple's doing this, he should be doing this. They'd send these letters to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, I'm very agitated. Brahmacharis. A lot of letters from brahmacharis. I think I should get married. In Vrindavan, one came into his room. Prabhupada, my mind's so disturbed. I'm trying to chant, but it's disturbed. I think I should get married. Prabhupada said, that's going to solve your problem? He said, chant more. He said, chant more rounds. That was always what he told us. Prabhupada, I'm struggling this way, that way. Chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 regulative principles, read my books. He never solves some mundane, you couldn't bring a mundane problem to him. You could, but he would tell you, chant your 16 rounds, follow the regulative principles, read my books, and keep engaged. It's such a simple. That's how crooked he was. Gave such a simple process. Who can follow such a simple process? Not so easy. This is, you see Tulsi Devi here, the beaded, one of my favorite outfits we see on the deities today, the Tulsi beads, Tulsi beaded outfit, all on the deities today. This is our life. This is what we do. This is how we occupy our mind. I'm just learning. Book distributors, they got to do artik. Vijay, you're going to go do artik one day. How many books have you distributed in your life? Do you have any idea? Many, many, many. As Panchagoda Prabhu. I distributed a few books here and there in my life. I was not a book distributor. I was assisting. That's also distributing books, assisting. They were distributing so many books that the book distributor had full-time assistants that would have to go back and forth to the van, load up the lockers, right, in the airports and things, so that the books were always there. So many books going out. We're all here because of what Srila Prabhupada did, giving us these books. He said that's what makes this movement official. And we were just reading yesterday, Panchagoda and I, when the New York court said, it was what year? 1977. Prabhupada said it took 12 years for the courts. They officially acknowledged the Krishna consciousness movement as a bona fide religion. They showed the paperwork. It was in an Indian newspaper. Whatever, Hindustan Times, one of those. It was in there. Prabhupada was so happy to see that. All of his hard work to be recognized. The judge read the books. He had to read. It was actually, some judges are good, I guess. They are doing their job. So he's reading through. What other conclusion could he come up with? This is a bona fide religious process. These people are allowed to practice their religious process here in America. Yeah. Prabhupada was so pleased. He worked so hard for that. That's when deprogramming was going on. It was a terrible time. I remember 76. What was his name? I forget his name. Anyway, big deprogrammer guy. Ted Patrick, yes. Yeah. He came to Boston, did a radio program. One devotee debated him. He saw me. Cid-ānanda Maharaj. Ted Patrick saw me. How long you been devotee? He said. Yeah. How long you been brainwashed? I said, I've been for 4 years. He said, oh, you're beyond hope. I should be so fortunate to be beyond hope of being in this material world. This is our goal. You're past hope. Nothing can help you. You're only going to be a devotee for the rest of you. It was a blessing. He gave me a blessing from Ted Patrick. I got a blessing. You're past hope. You're finished. I pray to be finished in this material world full of illusion and to be able to see perfect and complete as Krishna's creation. So we have a few minutes left. Anyone has any questions, comments, corrections? Which? Oh, the Bhakti. Well, that was the end of the story. Was Prabhupada was just transcendental. So while these two are arguing and everybody else is wondering what's going on, and everyone were always focused on Prabhupada, so they're trying to imagine what's Prabhupada talking about. But he was just made this little humor, 2662, 2662, with his very early disciple, Bhakti Jan, who was very happy that he was sitting in on a GBC meeting. So, I wouldn't advise any of you to sit in on GBC meetings. You should sit in Srimad Bhagavatam class, Bhagavad Gita class, those meetings. There are real meetings. Yeah. Did I answer that okay? That was yes.
Like you did so many services with Srila Prabhupada. My question is like, what inspired Prabhupada always to remain determined on his mission for his Guru Maharaj instead of so many obstacles?
No obstacles. Prabhupada said there are no obstacles, no stumbling blocks. He said just the order of his spiritual master, and Prabhupada as a compassionate, pure devotee is all he sees. Everyone's suffering in the material world. Everyone is suffering. And the devotee, his only business is to free everyone from that suffering. So that was his life's work. As we read, his before coming to America, so much time spent on just being able to get the books printed to come to the West. But from the very beginning, we saw his spiritual master told him to preach in English, and from that moment he recognized that this person, his spiritual master, is qualified to change the whole world, give Krishna consciousness. So from the very beginning, it's what he wanted to do. And his whole lifetime was preparing to do that until the Lord manifested just how he would do that. And then the rest, as we say, is history. But Prabhupada, he was always absorbed, 100%, 100% on Krishna. Everything he did was Krishna. Such devotee is not a simple thing. Doesn't come easily. Out of thousands, and out of those thousands, one such person able to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Jai.
So we have this verse, one who sees me everywhere. Yomam pashyati sarvatra, that verse. One who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me. I'm never lost to him, nor is he ever lost to me. And that was Prabhupada's vision, really. And the proof of the pudding is that when he left, his last words, just, I forgot whether it's minutes or half an hour, last thing he said, his hand lifted up very peacefully, didn't tremble. It took him some time to speak this whole thing. And he said, everything moving and non-moving is nothing but Krishna. This consciousness is Krishna consciousness. And that's why he could be motivated. He saw Krishna everywhere.
Sorry. Oh, so I take it. I see the devotees that follow that pattern of Prabhupada, how to introduce the things slowly but on a regular basis, are very successful at getting people started and then moving them along. But strangely enough, there are many people who don't try to imbibe that method, even though it's obviously so successful. How can we, just by repeating what happened, obviously if he did it, it was successful. If we do it, we'll be successful.
It's going on.
It is going on.
Successfully.
And the people who did it, I think the thing is to point out the ones that, like Panchagoda is successful here, Tukaram successful in Laguna. Many places people are successful, and when I travel around, I try to point out the different successes, that maybe the people can't do all the same things, but they can do some of them.
And that's your success as well, traveling around, speaking of everyone's success. This is what we do. Everything is, you know, we see it at our age. I coming to class seeing all these devotees, wonderful things they've done their whole lives, 50 years and more, serving Srila Prabhupada successfully. But yes, repeating. Prabhupada always said you speak your realizations, you speak his words in your own language, you know, according to your own understanding, your own realizations, and that's successful. That is the secret to success, is to be able to do without changing things. The more we stick close to Prabhupada's process, he gave the perfect process. As he said, Lord Chaitanya, he was God. What did he do? He just, for the masses of people, he just had Harinam Sankirtan, Mridanga Kartal. So Prabhupada introduced the very same thing when he went to New York. It took such a long time just to get to the point of sitting in Tompkins Square Park and chanting. And those people that were, you know, what did Prabhupada think? He didn't start out approaching hippies in Butler and New York. You know, he went to Dr. Mishra's place with elderly people. But when he sat down to chant, who sat down with him to chanting, bringing their bongos and drums, different things? But it's the chanting that made the change, the chanting from the lips of a pure devotee.
Oh.
There's actually a very beautiful story from the times that Prabhupada was living in the what is it called? This area? No. He was living in New York in this broken house area.
Bowery?
Bowery. So one time,
Skid Row?
long time ago, I was chanting in Golden Gate Park. It was just opposite Hippie Hill. And there was an old man, colored man, African American. He came with a shopping cart. All his belongings were in this cart. And he was poor, he was homeless. And he stopped in front of me and looked at me. And he said, this fellow who pulled this off, this Hare Krishna, he said he was a cool cat. He was a cool cat. He said, I was living in the Bowery, and he was living right in the same house. The house was a complete mess, but let us not forget, Jesus was born in a barn. And he walked away. So it's very beautiful how he saw the connection of one pure devotee preaching 2,000 years ago and Prabhupada preaching now in our time. Srila Prabhupada.
Someone asked Prabhupada, why you approach the hippies? He said, I'm approaching everyone. He said, but they're the ones responding. He said, not. He said, it's there for everyone. He said, I didn't approach hippies. They approached me. He said, they were the ones that came. He said, because they were younger and they were not so much steeped in the illusion of those who had their lives, their families, their jobs, everything. Because they were not in any of that, he said they were not so attached, so they came. He said, but I was not approaching hippies. Nor did he want hippies to stay hippies. He said, shave, cut your hair, shave your heads, shave your beards. I did mine yesterday for class today. I made sure I had to represent. I think sometimes Prabhupada might go 2 days without shaving. 2 days maximum. One day, you'll see how many pictures out of 20,000 photos, you'll see 2, 3 photos where he has a little bit. 2 days. Yeah. Always. His nails. I never saw his nails grow past the quake. He was regularly, he did it, he maintained all of those personal health things by himself. He shaved, he cut his nails, I never did his toenails. I know they grew, I think. But they're always very clean, very neat. No dirt, huh? The one devotee, when he went for Prabhupada for his Brahmin initiation, and he put his hand out, Prabhupada to show him how to count, and Prabhupada saw his nails. They were long. He was from New Vrindavan. Nails were filled with who knows what, dirt and mud and cow dung, whatever was in there. But Prabhupada looked at him. He said, you're a Brahmin. He said they should be very, very clean, everything clean, pure, complete pure. Pure means clean. And Prabhupada was very, very, very careful, everything he did. His hands, his feet, his face, how he ate, how he cleaned. It was my first chastisement. You didn't clean the place. You took the plate. You didn't clean the place.
15%.
First thing, you're a Brahmin. Are you a Brahmin? Not just say I'm Brahmin, I have my 2-cent thread on, make me a Brahmin. You have to be a Brahmin. Okay, one more. Punch a go, do we have that?
You sure? Sometimes, due to maybe GBC decisions and or maybe the difficulties we have with the authority of ISKCON, that we don't, maybe even like sometimes boycott coming to greet the deities or Guru Puja. And, we identify the leadership of ISKCON with our devotional service to Prabhupada and the mission. So how do we differentiate the two? How do we take away the difficulty we might have with authority, but at the same time maintain the mood of what Prabhupada was trying to imbibe in us to, actually go to the morning program and Guru Puja and class and keep our enthusiasm when we feel, poison issue, guru issue, GBC issue, child protection issue, so much, so much disharmony, how we can maintain our enthusiasm.
Poisoning.
Everything is personal. See, ISKCON's this big society here in India. We have over 100 temples now. You can identify in that way. I always say, I'm here at Prabhupada's home. See, I can only tell you how I manage hearing so much, seeing so much, myself involved in so much in this lifetime. Here in Kali Yuga, in the material world, so many difficulties are there. I told you when Prabhupada, you mentioned it the other day, when that girl in the audience in Caracas, Prabhupada, the devotees in the temple, they're in Maya. So I left. She left the temple because she saw that we're in Maya different ways. And Prabhupada on the Vyasa-san at the end of class, he said, you show me that place where there's no Maya and I'll go there. Maya's everywhere. Huh? Yeah, we should all go there. We are there. But that's what he said, show me that place. And all the devotees laughed, Haribol, Haribol. Then he looked at her. He said, you see the devotees are in Maya because you're in Maya. He said, I see everyone serving very sincerely. That's a question of our vision. We'll say over and over, the bee goes for the honey, the fly goes after the sewers, the stool, the flies. So our business, and also Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, is only because I'm honeycombed with faults, I take to the task finding faults in others. Finding faults in, because I have the faults. They're the faults I can see in others, are the ones that they're deep inside of me. So the way I do it is, I always think, ISKCON wonderful. It's Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, it's my body. Others will say other things nowadays, that was then, this is now. But I see, Prabhupada said, this is my home. So I'm here in Prabhupada's home. That's all I know. And I'm serving Srila Prabhupada through the temple president, through the authorities. Whatever it is, I get to do a little something. What does it matter? If I'm offering Artik, Mangal Artik, Radha Shama Sundar, anything else matter? What's going on here, there, anywhere? I'm in front of Radha Shama Sundar. Srila Prabhupada's personal deities. Here, I'll take another minute. Here in Vrindavan, I have no idea how fortunate I am to be in this place within Prabhupada's society. Any temple we know as Vaikuntha, but to be here, to be in Vrindavan, Krishna's, we're going to dig down 30 feet over there, huh? Putting in our basement. Who knows how far down you go? We're actually, usually excavation sites, they excavate 10, 20, 30, 50 feet, and you get the lost civilizations, We're going to get right to where Krishna's lotus feet was on those dust where we're going there. How fortunate we are. And yet, we're going to find problems. Problems always there. Problem is, what was it? The devotee said to Prabhupada about the problems. I have problems. He said, you're the problem. Your only problem is yourself. That's what he said. There's no other problem. We're our own problem. We carry it with us. Everywhere we go, we carry our problems with us. We're the problem. The solution is so simple. Surrender to Krishna. Whatever anyone else does, that's okay. That's their business. Prabhupada saw people coming and going. He wept for people leaving. We know all those things. But he was always blissful. Had service to Krishna through his spiritual master. Such a blissful thing. Such opportunity we have in this lifetime. And that's what it said. If we give up this lifetime, you don't know what's going to happen next. No guarantees. So here, for us in Vrindavan, to come here and be able to speak in Vrindavan, how much fortune can one have in a lifetime, to be able to come here. People work all year to come here for 2 weeks, and they get sick. And still they come. They're determined to come, see the deities, attend the programs. For us, it's a lifestyle. I don't ever want to take for granted anything Prabhupada has given me. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you.